What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Cologne. Today, we're going to be looking at a brand new release again. This is going to be the new Lattafa, Khamrah, Dukhan. I don't really know, but let's get into it. Alrighty, so I know for the last video, we did more of a winter and fall fragrance, and we're getting close to summer. And I just got a new winter and fall fragrance. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of roll with the punches on this one. This one is the new 2025 release from Khamrah, Lattafa's Khamrah, and it's called Dukhan. But I was super stoked when I saw that they were going to be releasing this one, because whenever they finally gave the note breakdown of it, I thought that the notes of this was going to be one that is going to be right up my alley. This one's supposed to be like a spicy, smoky, still going to have a touch of that original Khamrah, which the original Khamrah touch of Angel Share, so maybe like a boozy, tobacco-y kind of. And given how my favorite fragrances usually have smokiness, spiciness, booziness, tobacco, stuff like that, I thought that this was just going to be an absolute easy brainer purchase. And my bottle just came in today. It came in about 9 o'clock this morning. I immediately put a few sprays on. I've been wearing it for most of the day. So we can go ahead and kind of get into a full breakdown on this one. And kind of like we did last time, I'm going to go ahead and go over the full presentation now. If you don't want to watch this, I will put a time marker in the video where you can skip to where the review starts. But as far as the full presentation goes, I'll go ahead and get in on it. It has that same kind of signature Khamrah style. It starts out as kind of like a smoky, ambery top, and it goes down to what I think is a very beautiful, like, kind of dark, rich, almost cherry look to the bottom. It's a very, very dark red. I think it looks very good. The only complaint that I'm going to have right away is they changed their caps or something, because there's no snap, there's no nothing. This just sets on there now. So that kind of sucks, because it's going to make it kind of hard to grab out of the cabinet. So the next thing we're going to talk on is going to be the presentation of this real quick. Khamrah does a very good job about kind of making you feel like you're getting a full presentation of something. So there's going to be the front, there's nothing on the sides, there is a lot of breakdown going on in the back. But the coolest part is they kind of have this set up as a little bit of a coffinette style. And go ahead and show you off my ring light, because it's going to reflect back in it. But you got this nice glass on the back, you've got the Khamrah logo, Dukhan. It lets you know that it's an eau de parfum. It gives you just the tiniest little breakdown on here. But still, as a whole, I feel like the presentation on these are very good. As far for what you get for in that $30 price range, I feel like they really give you a lot of presentation and a lot of stuff going into something that's only supposed to be 30 or 40 bucks. And if they can give that kind of attention to detail and do some of that finesse stuff in their presentation, there's really no excuse no other company can either. Let's just be honest. But we're getting off in a little rabbit hole real quick. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn this back around, and we're going to show off the atomizer on this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this cap. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it right there. So now we're going to go ahead and show off the atomizer. And the atomizer on this is actually very good. It doesn't have very far burst, but it has a very wide burst. It covers a big area. And it doesn't feel like it moves a whole lot of juice, but it feels like it can really spread it out on your skin. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put a few there on the wrist. Yeah, this fragrance is going to be something good. I'm really enjoying this one. I just said I wasn't putting that back on. Yeah, this fragrance is going to be really good. I am going to enjoy this. So what your first hit with when it gets in the air is a lot of spiciness. I mean, a lot. It's got a little bit of a citrus mixed in with the spice. But for me, I feel like I almost get a little bit of like red pepper. I feel like I get a heavy dose of cinnamon. You can immediately pick up just a little bit of that praline that they're kind of famous for putting in this. You can kind of pick it up on the top just a little. And I get a little bit of a fruitiness. I don't know where the fruit notes are coming from. I feel like this is maybe like a berry kind of fruity, maybe a cherry kind of fruity. I feel like it's a red fruit, maybe raspberry. But there's something in this that kind of gives off like a fruity, spicy little hint of citrusy off the top. But as this gets down a little bit, we're going to go ahead and go over the notes of this real quick. The top notes on this are going to be spices, unnamed, pimento, and mandarin. And the spices, if I was willing to bet kind of what I can pick up on the nose of this, it's probably going to be a form of cinnamon. It's probably going to be a form of like maybe some star anise, something along that line. Something that's going to give it a little bit of an edginess on the opening. The middle notes on this are going to be incense, labdanum, orange blossom, and patchouli. I don't get much patchouli or orange blossom out of any of this all the way into the dry down, if I'm being honest. The incense note is beautiful in this, but it starts to show up further into the dry down. You don't notice it on the nose of it. The base notes on this are going to be tobacco, amber, praline, tonka bean, and benzoin, which is just one of the best lineups you could have for a fragrance. This fragrance on the base of it turns out to be such like a tobacco-y, smoky, sweet kind of vibe, and it's exactly the kind of fragrance that I'll be looking for a lot of the time. The only drawback to this fragrance is the timing of when it was released, because this fragrance is not really going to be a spring fragrance for a lot of people in the northern hemisphere. We're already looking at summer fragrances. The US is already starting to heat up. So the timing of this for the US market, a little bit poor, if we're being honest. It's going to be kind of hard to wear this unless you're in an extremely controlled environment. But circling back, the base notes of this should be absolutely amazing. We'll talk about that as it gets further into the deeper parts of the dry down. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the price performance and the availability. So availability wise, most discounters should be starting to get this fairly soon. I got mine off of Gift Express. I think it was $33 if I'm not mistaken. The $33 range, somewhere between that 25 to 40 is probably going to be your average going rate for this. I know Khamrah and the original Khamrah still sell for about that 35 to 40 range. I don't think anything's really gotten too out of hand with there yet. And as far as performance goes, I can already tell this thing is going to be an absolute monster. So on my skin, the original Khamrah and Khamrah both are absolute units. They give me 8, 10, 12 hours of performance. Fall and winter, like I said, is usually when you get the most out of them. In the heat, this thing's probably not going to perform very well. I put this on about 9:30 this morning. I'm currently filming this. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening, and this thing is still pumping off my skin. So as far as longevity goes, it's going to be an easy, probably that 8 to 11 hour range, if I'm guessing. I know that's kind of a big window, but that's probably what the average is going to be. The sillage on this thing is huge. I get that 2-3 foot sillage, and the projection is just as big. For this being eau de parfum concentration, I've said in the past, usually eau de parfums like to kind of stay closer to the skin. They kind of like to float up. The heavier the oil, usually the less kind of projection you get off of it. This thing, that is not the case at all. It is a performance monster right out of the gate. So if you want best performance with bang for your buck, and you love sweet, fruity kind of fragrances, you may want to check out the whole Khamrah line, because this whole line is just absolute bangers when it comes to performance, and for the most part when it comes to scent quality as well. Now, speaking of scent quality, that is going to get us to the first, I don't want to say knock, but maybe the first score against it is I did notice kind of right out of the gate that this has just a little bit of a synthetic vibe to it. But honestly, I think we should give it a pass, because for the $30 to the $40 range, for it to still smell this good, no problems whatsoever. I can deal with a little bit of syntheticness. Now, the only problem is some of that syntheticness, if oversprayed or if the right person gets a whiff, sometimes it can be a little cloying. It can lead to a little bit of a headache. It can lead to a little bit of almost like a nauseating feeling, as weird as that sounds. So sometimes when you are paired with an incredibly thick fragrance, which that's what this one is. This fragrance is soft in the way it hits the senses. It's not just gonna come up and punch you in the face. But this fragrance is very thick and it's heavy. So when it does kind of get in your nose, it doesn't really want to leave. It's going to keep staying. And sometimes some of that thickness that this fragrance can produce can lead that to be just a little bit on almost the nauseating side. And that's a lot of times that's what kind of induces that cloyingness, some of that headachehness. But honestly, that's really my only complaints about this fragrance so far. Everything else I'm really loving about it. And speaking about loving this fragrance, that is going to segue us into my favorite part about this fragrance, and that is going to be the dry down of this fragrance. This fragrance took about 30 to 45 minutes to get to like the truest part of the dry down. So this fragrance is very ambery. It's going to be incredibly warm. As I said earlier, about halfway through the fragrance, it starts to develop that real beautiful smoky note. The incense on this thing starts to get a little bit louder. Now, the tobacco choice on this one, to me, feels like it is a little bit of like a softer tobacco. It doesn't really feel like that really sweet pipe tobacco, and it doesn't really feel like it's one of those that's going to be real harsh. Like it's not going to be like a jazz club. If I was willing to bet, I would say that tobacco is like a hint in this. It's very much a background note. It's not anything that really gets loud. And the beautiful mix of the amber, the praline, and the benzoin, honestly on this, gives it a very much a boozy nature, more reminiscent of the original Khamrah. So to me, I feel like what they did is they basically took the booziness and the sweetness of that original Khamrah. They added a little bit more spice, they added incense, and they added a touch of tobacco, because that's really what this is. It's more of like a touch of it. But honestly, the way you get the faint hints of it going through in the background, and the way some of the smokiness paired with all that sweetness hits, this fragrance just hits just a little bit different. I love the warmth that you get off of it. I love the amberiness you get off of it. And the more that it dries down, some of that synthetic-iness does go away. It does smell a little bit more natural as it sets on the skin, and as kind of it really starts to turn into a true skin scent, the more natural and honestly almost the better that it smells. 5-6 hours into the dry down, the smokiness dials back just a little bit, and to me, I get just an absolute beautiful blend of a lot of sweetness, a little bit of a mineral vibe, and just with just touches of tobacco. And the incense note does hang on, and that's what I absolutely love. Is the blend on this, I feel like is better than Khamrah Kawa and the original Khamrah. To me, I feel like this is the most complete of the three, with still paying good respects to the original Khamrah as well. If I had to give this fragrance a rating right now for what you get with the presentation, the atomizer, the scent quality, and everything, I would give it, honestly, a 9.5. Really, the only thing you could change about this is find a way to make it a little bit more natural smelling. Maybe dial the sweetness back just a hair. This is incredibly sweet. Like, this thing is very, very sweet, especially when it gets all the way into that deepest part of the dry down. As far as a personal rating for me goes, honestly, I'd do the same. I'd still give it a 9.5. I feel like that is a very fair rating. This thing smells absolutely wonderful. I love almost everything about this. The biggest thing that I don't like is my cap doesn't do cap things. It works on the other two. Usually it's one of those things that shouldn't bug people, but for me, kind of looking at full presentation, full reviews. I've said before on the channel, and I'll say it again, I'm kind of a sucker for fine details, full presentations. But yeah, I feel like 9.5 is an absolute fair rating on this thing. The quality that you get, everything that goes into this, and honestly, the bottle quality itself feels very good. It's easy to hold in the hand. You can actually fit in the hand very well. It's not one that you feel like you're going to drop. So little stuff like that, I feel like has to account for something. But that is a lot of yapping on this fragrance in a very short period of time. So I think that's going to get us wrapped up. For the wrap up, I'm going to go ahead and get this put back on there. That way it just looks better. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get in this bottle one more time. Again, that is going to be Lattafa's Khamrah Dukhan. If I'm not saying that right, please somebody in the comments let me know. Oh, before I forget, because this is a new fragrance, I want to keep the trend of doing, I haven't done it in every video, and I'm going to apologize for that. If somebody wants a sample of this fragrance, leave me a comment down on this video. After a few days, I'll pick 1 or 2 people out, and I'll get some samples coming your way. That seems to be perceived very well on the channel, so I want to kind of keep that up. Obviously, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. That is going to help me grow the most. But once again, that is going to be enough yapping on this fragrance. That's going to be the wrap up for the day. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, staying tuned, listen to me yap about how stuff smells. I truly appreciate it. And to all of my fragrance friends out there, we will see you next time. Whew, I need a drink of water. That was a lot of talking in a short period of time.